Hey guys, Dr. Arland Hill here with PaleoLifestyleDoctor.com. I wanted to take a few minutes today to introduce this concept of bioidentical nutrients to you. Most of you are probably pretty familiar with the idea of bioidentical hormones, and bioidentical nutrients fall along the same ideology. So with a bioidentical hormone, you're using a particular hormone that is identical to the ones that are produced by your body. Same thing with the bioidentical nutrient. Although nutrients aren't produced by the body, what we're looking at is we're looking at taking a form of a nutrient that can easily be found in nature and assimilating that into the body. And the reason that that's important is that that gets easily incorporated into metabolic pathways. Now, let me go through a real common example with you here just to illustrate this point. I'm going to use the example of folic acid versus folate. Now, let me set the stage for what I'm going to show you here, in that when we talk about folic acid, we certainly know that folic acid has had its benefits, or does have its benefits, if someone is deficient in that, especially say, for example, a pregnant or a potentially pregnant mother, that if we have folic acid available, there's a reduced chance of development of neural tube defects. Also, we see that folic acid can lower homocysteine levels in some populations as well. But there's an opposite side to this too, that because folic acid is a synthetic form of B9, that when folic acid is around for too long a period of time, it's not easily assimilated, it's not easily incorporated into metabolic pathways efficiently, and as a result of that, there's some literature out now showing that that folic acid may potentiate some chronic diseases, cancer, specifically colon cancer being one of those. So it becomes extremely important to use a bioidentical form of a nutrient. That way you don't run into these same issues. Now, let me illustrate this point for you, and let me explain to you how this actually happens. So when we take folic acid, and again, folic acid is going to be our synthetic form of B9 here. This is not what we would find in nature. If you were to go eat spinach or green leafy vegetables or other forms of plant that are dense in folates, folic acid is not what you find in that. What you're actually going to find are folates. And there's many forms of folates out there. Folate is a kind of a large umbrella term. And by and large, most of these folates are what we consider to be inactive. There's an active form here, but by and large, most of these are considered to be inactive. Now, that's important because what we need to be able to do is, it's important for us to have active forms of folate. That active folate is what allows us to run these metabolic pathways efficiently. The first step in this process is the conversion down to something that we're going to abbreviate here, THF. THF stands for tetrahydrofolate. Now, here's what happens. When we consume folates are very quickly converted over to tetrahydrofolate. And we'll just label this as fast. This is a very fast reaction. It's very efficient. The enzyme that our body uses to make this happen, it's an easily recognizable enzyme. It knows what to do with folate. Folic acid, on the other hand, is a very slow process. This process takes some time. It's not efficient. So when we talk about the enzyme that's needed to convert folates to tetrahydrofolate, we have to use that same enzyme to get folic acid to tetrahydrofolate. But because that enzyme is not very efficient with folic acid due to it being a synthetic, then we're going to have some slow conversion here. So we're not feeding this conversion over to an active form of a folate very efficiently. The reason that that's important is that we start to develop something that I will again abbreviate here, called unmetabolized folic acid, UMFA, unmetabolized folic acid. Unmetabolized folic acid has the ability to start interfering with folates in the body. Not a good scenario. This is the form of the nutrient that we want. Going back to where we started in this conversation, in this video, folates are the bioidentical form. Use a folate, everything goes very smooth, it goes very fast. In terms of looking at the diet, how does this translate into dietary information? This is important because if you're eating a paleo diet, if you're eating a diet that's rich in whole foods, foods as you would find them in nature, foods that are not adulterated, foods that have not been fortified and had things added back to them, those are going to be folates you're going to find in that. When we start talking about the fortification of food, now we're over into the synthetic realm and we're looking at folic acid. Again, this is very important in terms of, potentially in terms of long-term health. So again, guys, shoot for the bioidentical nutrient when you're talking about what's the form of nutrient that I should be looking for if I need to supplement, or if I need to supplement my diet. Guys, thanks for your time. Appreciate you listening. Dr. Arland Hill with PaleoLifestyleDoctor.com.